for joining us for the weekend edition of National Focus. I'm Tasia Floissac. Coming up, a call for Caribbean tourism to become more competitive. The nation's education minister supports use of technology in education, and the Grand 4 water supply project is in its final stages of construction. Stay tuned for these and other headlines after the break.
The black Sikatuka fungus can survive on banana and plantain leaves even after they have been cut from the tree. Farmers and hucksters are encouraged to use alternate cushioning material when moving produce from farm to the market. Do not use banana and plantain leaves as cushioning. It is against the law to move banana and plantain trash from the field. Obey the law and stop the spread of black Sikatuka today.
Thanks for staying with us. Tourism ministers from the OACS region met in Dominica on Thursday at the Atlantic View Resort and Spa in Ansdime to discuss a number of tourism-related issues now confronting the sector and identified joint solutions to some of these challenges. Issues such as yachting, OACS Common Tourism Policy, community tourism and ease of travel within the region were among top agenda items as the officials sought to brainstorm on new ways to grow the industry. Dominica's Minister for Tourism and Legal Affairs, Honorable Ian Douglas, in welcoming his fellow tourism heads at the 12th meeting of the OACS Councils of Tourism Ministers on Thursday, spoke extensively on the issue of ease of travel. He expounded on recent strides made by Dominica in its efforts at improving air access. The minister expressed the need for a renewed focus by the OACS region in addressing all issues confronting travel in the region.
10 years ago, landing in Dominica after 5 p.m. in the evening was unheard of, or in fact was impossible. Today, one can land in Dominica up to 10 o'clock at night. We recognize that there is a need for much more development in this regard. Travel, both by sea and air, is important to all of us as small island states of the OACS. We need then to address all issues compounding travel throughout the region and put the necessary systems in place to facilitate movement of our citizens and also of our visitors. This being said, each OACS country must ensure that travel among our destinations by our citizens is facilitated. Often, we fail to honor our commitments as OACS states, and this can result in a certain level of insularity. We can let our region be a model for the wider CARICOM region in this regard.
The tourism minister took the opportunity to speak of a recent decision made by the government of Dominica to invest in a regional airline, LIAT.
The government of Dominica sees LIAT as an important contributor to improving air access to the island. Therefore, we have taken the decision to become shareholders in the regional airline because we see LIAT as an important contributor towards the efforts at improving and enhancing air access into Dominica. An initial $3 million was allocated for that purpose, which will go towards the government's investment in the airline. We strongly believe that this investment is in the best interest of our people and of not only our people of Dominica, but of the region. This contribution will facilitate the acquisition of new aircraft and is expected to create new opportunities for more visitors to come to our island, as well as to facilitate the movement of our citizens to Dominica. This initial investment forms part of an overall $8 million investment that will be made into the airline.
The meeting was hosted by Dominica's Ministry of Tourism and Legal Affairs in collaboration with the OACS Secretariat. And while tourism continues to be a fundamental driver of the economy in some Caribbean jurisdictions, data has revealed that the OACS is becoming increasingly competitive amidst emerging destinations in other regions of the world. This point was raised by head of the Trade Policy Unit and officer in charge of Economic Affairs Division in the OACS Secretariat, Virginia Paul, during her remarks at the start of the OACS Tourism Ministers meeting on Thursday.
There is no need for me to convince you of the significance of the tourism sector to the OACS economy. given the evidence produced by institutions such as the World Travel and Tourism Council, which describes tourism as the fundamental driver of the economy of many Caribbean countries, contributing some 14% of total gross domestic product, 12% of employment, and 2 million direct, indirect, and induced jobs in 2012. However, notwithstanding these impressive indicators, a closer look at the relevant statistics reveals that some not so impressive trends in respect of the overall performance of the tourism sector in the Eastern Caribbean Union. The data reveals that the OECS is becoming increasingly less competitive amid stiffening competition, particularly from emerging destinations in other regions of the world, and consequently losing its already undersized share of the global tourism market.
Paul informed the meeting that statistics obtained from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and the Eastern Caribbean Central Union (ECCU) show the share of the world travelers in the Caribbean has been on general downward trend over the decade of 2003 to 2013.
In 2000, the ECCU share of global tourist arrival was 0.132%. In 2005, it declined to 0.131%. In 2010, it further declined to 0.101%, and last year, it reached a record low of 0.092. These facts and figures substantiate the point that whilst we depend heavily on tourism and distinguish this sector as the most significant in our economies, the global tourism sector does not, in a similar vein, depend critically on us for its prosperity and does not, by any measure, regard our region as a significant, much less the most significant region.
With those facts on the table, Paul then asked some critical questions concerning the impact of the OECS on global tourism.
Does world tourism need the OECS? Put differently, if the OECS were to be excised from the global tourism arena, what would be the implications? Would we be missed? Why would we be missed? What makes us so special? What makes us so different? These are some of the salient questions that should resonate and pervade our minds and should coerce us to adopt and execute deliberate strategies aimed at enhancing the competitiveness and relative appeal of the OECS. For even as tourism has evolved in its regard as a premier economic player in the region, several challenges loom large, impeding the optimal performance of the sector.
In more news, the nation's Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, Honorable Peter St. Jean, speaking at the 12th conference of the Dominica Association of Teachers, lent his voice to the call for the use of technology in education. The minister believes the move is the best illustration of capitalizing on students' areas of interest. Despite the cost and competition challenges of such an endeavor, Honorable St. Jean says his ministry has been playing its role in the process.
Within the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development, we have utilized every medium to expose students to the use of technology within the classroom. Our efforts range from the delivery of laptops to primary schools on the island to assist the grade 2 teachers in the delivery of the mathematics curriculum, to a number of training programs which sensitize our teachers on the integration of technology in classroom teaching and student learning. We have also gone several steps further to use technology as a tool for management of data within the education system.
Honorable St. Jean agrees that Dominica cannot be left behind and so promises that his ministry will continue providing the opportunities for the use of technology in schools. Meanwhile, the use of technology in education is guaranteed to change educators as well as their students. This comes from featured speaker at the 12th Biennial Conference of the Dominica Association of Teachers, Principal Carlotta Challenger. The speaker believes that with the traditional methods of education, change is expected, and even more so with the use of technology. At this point, she says the educator's role has already been greatly transformed to deliver students able to think individually and critically by involving learners in the process.
We do not need you to prepare for us a workforce that has memorized fleeting facts and knowledge, taught in the belief that what they need to know will never change. Instead, the key to our global competitiveness is a workforce comprised of people empowered by curiosity and persistence, attributes that will enable them to learn whatever they need to know and do to solve a problem or do a job well.
Importantly to note, says Principal Challenger, is that educators ought not to be worried about being replaced by technology.
The high demand and complex nature of teaching cannot be met by computers executing repetitive tasks or simple transactions. People learn in different ways at different rates, and numerous variables can affect their progression on any given day, including those in the social and emotional realm. Furthermore, while many aspects of teaching can be planned in advance, and any good teacher plans in advance, even the best laid lesson plans can get twisted, requiring an immediate pivot to plan B. And then there are those unexpected moments when students become captivated by an activity, a current event or a challenge, and engage with an intensity that could not have been foreseen. The best teachers harness this energy and use it as rocket fuel for learning. No, rest assured, technology will not replace teachers.
Principal Challenger ended her presentation with these remarks to teachers.
To paraphrase a well-known proverb, if you teach me the relevant skills and knowledge of my time, I will have a job today. If you instill in me imagination, drive, and the ability to adapt to a future I cannot anticipate, I will have relevant jobs for a lifetime.
In other news, a tour of the Grand Forks constituency has revealed several projects reaching fruition for the comfort and advancement of its constituents. GIS News and Constituency Representative Honorable Ivor Stevenson visited sites of interest in the East on Thursday, April 24th, beginning with the Grand Forks Water Supply Project. Funded by the Government of Dominica and the Basic Needs Trust Fund, a 60,000-gallon storage tank as well as an intake was constructed in 2013. A total of $1.3 million, a promise made to constituents in 2009, the project is now in its final stages. The contractor Paul John Hope and his foreman Elwin Austri led a team of 12 workers rotated fortnightly in the task of laying the distribution line for the project. The 10-week project, which began mid-May, is costing $400,000.
The scope of work entails the laying of 6,000 feet of PVC, the blue PVC pipes, 4-inch, and I think installation of 10 hydrants, fire hydrants, the installation of 60 connections, home connections.
The constituency representative explained further exactly how this part of the project fits into the whole.
That in itself will ensure that the old lines which were serving ground from before in the 1950s, we're talking about 2-inch line pipes, is now being replaced by 4-inch line pipes. And that will ensure that all the residents of Grand Forks will have a constant supply of water in the taps right now. The community was faced with a serious problem of water over the last years, and since I came in as PAL rep, what we have been witnessing is basically a new water system, a new intake, new storage tank, and new distribution lines. And even before, when the people in the upper section of Grand Forks, especially in the boulevard area, were faced with inadequate supplies in the taps, we are now seeing with the provision of this new line that people will now have sufficient water in the pipelines.
Prior to the now regular flow of potable water through the Grand Fork community, residents' water supply was provided on a rotation basis, Kezra John Hope explains.
Normally, the upper section of the village, they would only receive water when the lower village is asleep. So then everybody would have to collect their water during the course of the night for the next day. So right now they don't have that problem no more. So we are very thankful for that.
Even the quality of the water was questionable prior to the new arrangement.
Before, the water was not in a good condition, it was not proper. It was not suitable to us. It was a bit dirty and we could not hardly use it. We had to be boiling the water before we could use it. But now we are going to get proper water and good water to drink and make all right.
Honorable Stevenson, who is also Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry for Water Resource Management, knows firsthand the needs of his constituents, especially when it comes to such matters.
The people in Grand Fork are very much satisfied. I mean, they know exactly the problems that they have had in the past with respect to inadequate water supply, especially in a drought period. We just recently experienced some droughts. At that time of the year, normally people would have shortages of water, especially in the upper sections. People were also faced with the problems before, whereby when it rained, the water was so turbid that they could not use the water. And there would be a lot of debris and even small fishes that would be basically piped into the homes. And that in itself shows a level of dissatisfaction. So with the construction now of a new water system, what we are going to see is that there will be adequate time, even if it rains, for storage and settlement of the water in the storage tank. And that will ensure that the people, the householders themselves, will have a better water, better quality water, and that in itself will make life much better for people.
An added benefit besides potable water, fresh from the island's sources, is the agriculture spin-off, which Honorable Stevenson noted clearly.
It will mean that people who would like to engage themselves in agriculture can do some backyard farming, grow their vegetables, they can go into livestock production, small livestock, and that in itself can help them to earn income that can make life much better for them.
The pipe laying aspect is expected to wrap by the end of May. We'll bring you more developments from that tour in subsequent newscasts. And finally, this news time, the Ministry of Information, Telecommunications and Constituency Empowerment will on Monday, April 28th, officially launch a week-long cybersecurity workshop dubbed National Needs Assessment and Legislative Review Workshop at the Fort Young Hotel. In an exclusive interview with GIS News, Telecommunications Director Bernard Thomas said that to first understand the importance of cybersecurity, one must know what it means.
Cybercrime is any criminal activity that is perpetuated via the internet or the use of electronic communication devices with the purpose of defrauding people, particularly of revenue. That's a crime. And we call it, because it happens using computers and so forth, we call it cybercrime. Cybersecurity is the use of technologies, networks, processes to combat that kind of activity. And usually you put certain policies and legislation in place which will give the law enforcement agencies the authority and the legal mechanisms to go after those persons. Because of the nature of cybersecurity and cybercrime, you find that there need to be a level of collaboration not only in Dominica among the various sectors which I'll discuss later, but also with other agencies that are involved in that fight against terrorism.
The purpose of this workshop is to assess and determine the cybersecurity needs of the country while reviewing existing e-legislation to determine whether they are in compliance with the International Convention of Cybercrime, known as the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. The Convention on Cybercrime is the first international treaty seeking to address internet and computer crime by harmonizing national laws, improving investigative techniques, and increasing cooperation among nations. Thomas said that the workshop is in keeping with Dominica's legislative framework.
We have had certain legislation enacted in Parliament on that. We had the electronic transactions bill, the data protection bill. Some of them have been enacted and passed in Parliament. We have the electronic crimes bill, electronic evidence bill, the electronic filing bill, electronic transaction bill. All these most of them have passed in Parliament, and all these are geared towards setting up the legislative framework to ensure that there is the prosecutors, lawyers, judges, and so forth can prosecute.
The week-long workshop will be facilitated by a team of international experts on cybersecurity assessment and strategy development from the Commonwealth Secretariat, COMSEC, based in the United Kingdom, the Council of Europe, COE, with headquarters in France, and the Inter-American Committee Against Terrorism of the Organization of American States, CCITE, or OAS, based in Washington, D.C., United States of America. He highlighted one of the main objectives of their contribution and the next phase of implementation thereafter.
What do we have in place? Do we have the laws and the relevant laws? And do we have the technical ability to fight cybercrime? So they are going to do an assessment of our needs in that area. Once they have completed that aspect, there is also the OAS team is going to look at how we develop a cybercrime strategy. That you need to have a strategy to combat these cybercrime issues. And that will lead to what is known as our policy, our cybercrime policy. So these are the main objectives of the workshop.
The workshop focus groups will meet at the VAT office on the second floor of the Financial Center. Larger group seminars will be held at the newly constructed Dominica State College on day 4 and 5 from 9 a.m. The director appealed to all stakeholders to take part in the upcoming event.
We are calling as many stakeholders as possible. We are trying to get at every sector of the society, particularly the financial sector, the banking sector, the academia, the utility companies, ISPs. All of those persons will be sending out an agenda to discuss. They will meet at particular times. There are different time slots and different dates for different persons. Now, some people have asked, they did not see the name, let's say, on a particular time slot. Whatever your expertise, say you are an engineer, if you look at the program that we sent out, you will see a group for IT professionals. You can fall in that group and come in. Yeah, so it is slotted for various sectors of the society.
The Needs Assessment and Legislative Review Workshop on Cybersecurity is being hosted in collaboration with the Ministry of National Security, Immigration and Labor and the Establishment Personnel and Training Department. GIS News will bring you more from this exclusive interview in Monday's newscast. And that's the news. We now join Jarna Hector for a recap of this week's headline stories. Welcome to this week's edition of Flashback. In the headlines this week, the Ministry of Agriculture announced the rapid spread on the global banana market of a relatively new disease, the Fusarium wilt Panama disease, race 4. Currently prevalent in Asia and Mozambique, the fungal disease is said to be even more damaging than the black sigatoka. The Eggleston Girardel Flower Show, which has been running for over 30 years, will this year highlight the creativity of budding florists in young students. From May 2nd to 11th, all roads will lead to the twin communities of Girardel and Eggleston for the annual Flower Show, which will be staged under the theme Creativity with Flowers. Also this week, cocoa farmers from the North and West agricultural regions received their certificates for participation in an 8-week training program of the Farmer Field School. By the end of the course, the farmers had learned pruning techniques for their cocoa crops. The Dominica Association of Teachers called on teachers to incorporate technology in the enhancement of education. In fact, that was the theme of the association's 12th biennial conference, which took place this week.
The main reason for this call is for educators and students to keep up with changing times. A two-day workshop for representatives of the telecommunications sectors of various regional countries to discuss dispute resolution and competition law took place in Dominica this week. The workshop was facilitated by the International Telecommunications Union, the ITU. It outlined standard operating procedures for the industry. Those were the headline stories breaking the news this week. It's back to you, Tasia.
Thank you, Jarna. The International Labour Organization celebrates the World Day for Safety and Health at Work on the 28th of April to promote the prevention of occupational accidents, fatalities and diseases globally. Stay tuned for this year's theme and a few safety tips.
Dominica is blessed with an abundance of water, but getting it to your home is an expensive venture. You have a responsibility to conserve water, to use it wisely. Remember the old adage, you never miss the water till the well runs dry. Think water, think life.
This year's theme is safety and health in the use of chemicals at work. While chemicals can be useful, necessary steps should be taken to prevent and control potential risk for workers, workplaces, communities, and the environment. Chemicals range from pesticides that improve the extent and quality of food production to pharmaceuticals that cure illnesses and cleaning products that help establish hygienic living conditions. Here are a few safety tips. Keep floors and work surfaces clean and dry to help prevent slip and fall injuries or chemicals getting into food. A well-organized stockroom promotes safety and is also more efficient. Try putting one person in charge. Signs and container labels reinforce safety and serve as a constant reminder of specific handling, use, and disposal of procedures. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Friend us on our Facebook page and be sure to like our GIS Dominica fan page. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our YouTube channel. From all of us here at GIS, thanks for watching and join us again next time on National Focus. Have a great weekend.